Well, I think, it's worth mentioning a little bit of a brief history with United Way because um, we've been around for a long time, and locally, and in particular with Mineral and Allegheny County, they were the kind of the founding uh, parts of our local United Way, and we've been around since 1957. So we're an old organization with a long history, and always with the same notion to basically help people. And probably what we're most known for is our annual fundraising campaign. And this brings in dollars that help Mineral County. And so we've relied very heavily for a long time on places like the Luke Mill and ABL, but are now faced with finding new ways to fundraise, not only as our economy changes locally, just in general, but from post-COVID, we're anticipating some new challenges with fundraising. And basically what this means in terms of fundraising for Mineral County is that the dollars that we raise have historically provided opportunities for children to have access to after school and summer programs. And it's also meant access to the Piedmont Library, which has been a longtime partner for us and serving basically as a full-scale community center for that Tri-Towns area. And Paula has used United Way dollars for quite a while to host no-cost community events for families each year. She does a number of those, an after-school, celebration, and then something during the summer around the summer holidays, and also a back-to-school kickoff where she supplies backpacks and other school supplies and whatnot, and hosts kind of a fun activity for the families before the craziness of school starts. Of course, what all of that is going to look like for the coming months is up in the air a bit, but we're hopeful that we can see those events kick off as usual. I know she's opening the pool, so she's working on that. But we're also able to help households with expenses in a couple of ways. One of those is for under or uninsured individuals. We're able to provide short-term and long-term life-saving prescription meds. And what this means is it ensures that those individuals are taking medications as they're required and as they're meant to be taken. Oftentimes that's one of the things that is forgone when you're looking at challenges with other basic needs in your household. So by providing those life-saving medications, that we're able to allow them to shift their limited income to other basic needs, food, rent, utilities, but also in working so closely with our various agencies, we're able to find other wraparound services to truly kind of help those households stay on their feet and not get into more serious situations where they might be facing eviction and even worse, homelessness. We live in a rural area where dental issues have and will continue to be an ongoing challenge. Many folks don't have dental insurance. It's a very costly service, but it's important and vital to our basic health. A simple cavity can always lead to, if it's untreated, can lead to very serious health implications. And through our dental programs, we can remedy that problem a lot of times before it advances to something more severe. And also in cases where an individual might be facing full extractions or partial extractions, root canals, that kind of thing, through limited dollars, we have access to partials and dentures that we can get folks. And sometimes that means the world to an individual if they're working, and if you have a dental problem, that can be very challenging for you. It creates self-consciousness and negativity in your life that can sometimes prevent people from wanting to be out in public, and sometimes even lead to not having work because they're self-conscious about speaking to customers and whatnot. So we've seen a lot of success in offering those program services in Mineral County. Um, through the years, for the past 10 years, we've offered the Mission of Mercy free dental clinic, and individuals from around the region have accessed that service. Unfortunately, we were in the planning stages of our 2020 event, and COVID has caused us to have to cancel that. The Dental Association has obviously created a number of new guidelines and whatnot that's necessary to protect the dental industry. So the costs associated with keeping volunteers and the professionals safe would have been astronomical. So you know, we had to cancel that for 2020. We're looking at ways that we can hopefully shift some of the grant dollars that the program received to programs that already exist in our communities to serve people, much like I mentioned about the emergency dental. You know, serving those same individuals that would have accessed the Mission of Mercy clinic, we're hoping will be able to access the program services more individually rather than one large event, putting a lot of people at risk. You know, over the past probably the past 18 months or so, we've found that hygiene has become more of an issue on the forefront than maybe what we had once thought. We often, when we think about basic needs and you know, the kinds of things that people need to sustain a healthy life, first top of mind is, you know, health services and then food. You know, food insecurity has always been a challenge in our region as a whole. You know, you've got full-scale food deserts where individuals and households don't have access to a market because simply they don't have transportation to get to some place like Cumberland or LaVale or Kaiser, where they can find a full market. But also, you know, those outlying areas don't even have convenience stores. So oftentimes folks are going without food. And you know, add to that the hygiene. And when you're thinking about a household that's struggling to meet their basic needs, you know, hygiene items are probably one of the first things to go when they have limited dollars to spend on food. And unfortunately, you know, SNAP benefits and those, you know, what is most known as food stamps don't cover hygiene items. It covers food. And so a lot of our agencies we've been working with to provide dollars that they're able to put towards gift cards and such that allow these households to purchase cleaning supplies and hygiene items and whatnot. But we've also been pretty successful in working with local businesses that are interested in doing collections and whatnot to provide the actual basic needs, you know, hygiene and household cleaning items to like food pantries and their agencies, so that when they have a household or an individual come in for services, they're able to provide them with a box of those items to help them. We received some donations a couple of years ago, and the local unions, the carpenter union in Cumberland, was able to build 6 pantries. And the basic idea behind that was to provide no questions asked, full access, 24 hours a day items to people in safe public places. And so these pantries were built and placed throughout the community. And we do have one over in Short Gap at the fire department, and local folks just put items in there, and then individuals can, you know, access them as needed. And we're finding that it's very well received, but there's a serious challenge with keeping them stocked. We have, during this pandemic, have been I've been making a lot of trips to Georges Creek to keep that pantry stocked up here near Frostburg, and I would say within 24 hours, the items that are placed in there are gone. And in South Cumberland, it's the same thing. We have a couple of groups that keep those stocked, and their goal has been to stock it weekly, but within hours or a day, the items are gone. So last year, we applied for a grant through U.S. Windforce, and they were gracious enough to grant us $1,000 that will help us build 6 of those pantries to place throughout Mineral County. Our intent was to work through the tech center with Mineral County Public Schools, and I had been in contact with everyone to put all that together, and then global pandemic. So schools shut down, and you know, we've been met with that situation of not being able to get them built. The goal was to have them in the ground actually right around now before school closed for the summer. So we'll be looking at some alternatives to get that done. We want to make sure that we're being good stewards of the grant dollars that we were given and provide the service. But the main goal of those pantries in particular was to actually place them in more of the outlying areas of Mineral County. Definitely at least one in Kaiser, but you know, when you think about places like Burlington, you know, and maybe partnering with some churches in those areas to have the congregation collect items and make sure that the pantries are staying stocked. So that's on our radar for 2020 and possibly into 21, depending on where things go, in getting those built and distributed out. So that's been a really successful project that we've done in the communities that we serve. And definitely will help address some of the hygiene issues that we have, but also I think on our radar also is, you know, working with local businesses to make them aware of that challenge and ask them if, you know, if you've got a project that your employees want to do and this is something that means something to them, definitely we'll collect hygiene items and distribute them, maybe even through the schools. You know, the middle schools is one area where we've been successful in Garrett County in distributing those items, because as kids begin to go through puberty, they have challenges that they previously didn't have. And if their households don't have those items, you know, that can be really detrimental to a child. So we've got lots of opportunities to do those kinds of things.
Julie, besides Burlington and Kaiser, do you know where the other ones, where you'd like to put the other pantries or the?
We haven't identified those locations yet, but I'm definitely, you know, we're looking for input on that, because I don't live in Mineral County, so I'm not familiar with, you know, what some of those areas are, but definitely input on that would be appreciated for sure.
I think Piedmont and Elk Garden.
Piedmont, Elk Garden.
Yeah, definitely those two.
I would agree.
We do have one at the Piedmont Library. I think Paula does a pretty good job of keeping that one, you know, stocked up and doing what she can. But I think there it's the same challenge that we're facing in the other areas. Just, you know, those items aren't cheap sometimes, and you know, keeping them stocked is definitely. We've been able to work with Western Maryland Food Bank. They provide some services to pantries over in Mineral County. And what we've been doing is working with Amy at the food bank to, at a very low cost, order some of those items to place in the pantries. So one in particular is toilet paper. You know, that's been the whole big thing here for 2 months is toilet paper tragedy. So, you know, we've been working with her, and she ordered just boxes and boxes of toilet paper, individual rolls. So we've been able to place those individual rolls in the pantries with the hope that folks are only taking what they need, rather than placing large packs in the boxes. So
Right. And for those who don't know, where is the one in Short Gap located?
that one's at the fire department.
Great.
I'm so sorry. My kids are here and they've decided it's lunchtime.
So,
We
Even though I
understand.
told them very, very, very clearly not to come in this room while I was on this call. Welcome to the McCoy household.
Right. But we're hungry. Well, what's for lunch, Julie?
It looks like Lunchables. So it's like a self-serve around here.
Right.
Again, I apologize.
No
So,
worries.
As I said, we get a lot of, whenever we are introducing ourselves, folks will go, oh yeah, the work, the payroll deduction. And that's what people think about with the campaign. And, but I wanted to take this opportunity to really talk about some of the other things that we do and what we're capable of doing, because we have such a strong brand and because we are local folks and understand the challenges that we're all facing, how we can really work together as a community. And so another one of the really cool things that we do every year is Stuff the Bus. And this is a program that we've been doing for quite a while that collects school supplies and distributes them out to the Mineral County schools. And so what we do with that is we park a bus at Walmart in Kaiser, and we're there all day collecting these supplies. We work with the schools to make sure that we have an updated list of items. Do kids really use protractors anymore? Does that need to be on the list? Do we need to collect rulers? Those kinds of things. And so we update the list about every other year. And Walmart is gracious enough to allow us to pass out those slips of paper to anyone who is interested in taking them, and asking that if you're so inclined and you're in their shopping, grab a notebook or pencils or whatever and bring them out to us. And so the geek in me loves the fact that we count every single item that we collect. And it's really cool at the end of the day to find, to discover how many items you've collected. And every year we surpass 3,000 items easily. Western Maryland UPMC, Western Maryland has been wonderful in donating tons of backpacks over the years, dozens and dozens of backpacks that we're able to give to the schools to have on hand and give to kids throughout the year as they need them. And there's a lot of back to school supply drives that happen in the region. It's crazy to think of the number of items that are collected and used throughout the year. That pencils, my kids lose pencils like crazy, and knowing that the schools have those items on hand at no additional cost to them is a great thing for us. So we anticipate that event every year. We have a lot of fun. We've got great volunteers that come out for it. Developmental Center is always really fun to work with. They bring some of their clients over, and they enjoy the day so much. They love handing out the item list to the customers, and they really love when they get to hold the collection bucket and people drop money in it. They're so happy about that. And so we have a lot of fun that day. It's hot because it's in August, but fun.
Yeah. And
So
food
the
drives that you
next
do and all kinds of stuff.
And that's another, I wanted to add to that, that's another event where we end up collecting some hygiene items. And I think that's something we'll be pushing this year a little more and adding to the list, because that's another opportunity for us to collect those things and give to the schools. And then we have the Day of Caring and Sharing. And so this is an event that's taken place in Mineral County, again, for a very long time and has historically been supported by the plant at ABL, in whether it was ATK or Orbital or Northrop Grumman. They've supported that event. And again, UPMC comes through through Patsy and provides some breakfast items for our volunteers that morning, and water. And basically, this event is an effort to clean up the county, and do some basic sprucing up and painting and mulching and flower planting and that kind of thing. Last year, we were fortunate to have found a couple new projects to do. We painted the fence at the women's shelter, and I painted the floor at Helping Hands. That was like the quickest painting job I've ever done in my life. But she had all the supplies for me, and we got that done quickly. We did some work at a nursing home over there. IBM has become an incredible partner of United Way as a whole, as a company, and locally, it's no different. The company always is looking for volunteer opportunities, and so we're always excited to engage them, whether it's Stuffed Bus or Day of Caring, or ask for basic needs supply drive. They'll participate in that. So we get them to come out that day. First United employees come out for that. The chamber participated. Randy did such a great job of promoting that for us. And we have 100 kids easily from Kaiser High School who come out and want to do projects. So what Randy and I have been talking about is finding a way to kind of change up the event a little bit and engage a broader area of the county. So looking at an opportunity for maybe the kids at Frankfurt to join us. And we've been discussing some potential projects at Lorenham Park, because, we're going to be faced with challenges of social distancing, I think, for some time. And we want to make sure that we have enough projects to go around, but in particular, projects for large groups. And that seems to be something those kids just love to do. They have such a fun time. And they come back and they eat and they eat and they eat.
They do.
And so we have a lot of fun that day. And I want to say also the ladies from Developmental Center, they came over last year, and I don't even know what happened. Like they unloaded food, they served food, and before I knew it, they had cleaned it up and they had it loaded in.
Yeah,
they just did such a great job. So, Annette is a treasure for us to be able to help coordinate that and
they were
make
the
that
food
happen.
angels.
Yeah, for sure. So, and this past year was a little bit of a tough year because Jerry Mason was kind of my partner in planning that event each year, and so she was a huge missing link this year in doing that event. But once again, Randy has stepped in and really helped us out, and he's kind of become my partner in Mineral County, trying to navigate some of the challenges there. So we're planning for this year in October again, and we'll take it in stride and see what happens. But as of right now, it's a go. So
Yeah.
So that's kind of some of the things that we do. Is there any questions or anything that you think I missed? Or
Well, make sure that people know that all the money that's raised in this area stays in this area. Where a lot of charities,
absolutely.
that's not the case.
Yeah, so I mentioned the campaign. So when we raise dollars for our campaign, we're a little bit of a unique United Way in the sense that we operate out of Cumberland, Maryland, but serve 4 counties. So we serve Garrett County in Maryland, and then we serve Mineral and Hampshire County in West Virginia. At one time, we served Grant, Hardy, Pendleton, and Tucker as well, which is virtually impossible. I'm not sure that the folks in Alexandria understand our geographic footprint and how much mileage that is to cover. But Every once in a while we'll have a request come in from one of those counties, and we'll do our very best to help them. I've been in communication with a lady from Grant County that's asking for some help. So, we do what we can, and United Way is a pretty cool network in that if we can't do it, we know that we can rely on another United Way that might be a little closer to help out and lend a hand. So when we raise those dollars in those communities, they stay there. We have a database that helps us keep that separate. And, if somebody in Allegheny County has ties to Mineral and they want their dollars to go to Mineral County, we make that happen. And you've probably heard me mention a couple of times about partners. And so that's a piece of United Way that's been really important for all of the communities that we serve. We don't provide direct services. We provide the dollars to the agencies that do those services. They're the ones that focus on that. And so having those partners is vital to the work that we do. And some of the ones that we're able to partner with in Mineral County is, Family Resource Network. They do such a variety of community programs for the children and families there, and they've been a longtime partner. And of course, we have a couple of agencies that are located in Cumberland, much like us, but serve Mineral County, and those are like Salvation Army and Associated Charities. But I understand that the Red Cross is going through some changes right now, and their coverage area might now include Mineral County, where we didn't have that partnership with them before. So it was a little bit of a strange makeup. But in addition to that, we have partnered with Catholic Charities for a really long time, and they help us with a lot of the utilities and housing challenges, and then also they're a go-to for food a lot of times. I mentioned about Associated Charities in Cumberland, and they're one of the agencies that helps us with kind of the hygiene gift cards and whatnot, as well as they have some dollars in Mineral for emergency prescriptions and emergency utilities and things like that. I mentioned that we're such an old organization, and locally we really haven't navigated too far from the way that we've done things for decades. And now, as our world seems to be rapidly changing before our eyes, even before all of this happened, we were starting to look at ways to diversify our revenue and fundraise, because corporations are changing, and the way that they do philanthropy is changing, and we need to be looking at that. We need to understand that culture and change the way that we're raising funds. And so we've been in talks for a while now among our Mineral and Hampshire County advisory committees to come up with some kind of fundraiser that can serve as a joint West Virginia fundraiser and raise some dollars and help fill some of those gaps that we've been seeing from our traditional fundraising. With a small staff of 3, it makes it hard for us to be in 4 places at once. So we're working on just kind of looking at our structure and our makeup and how we can do things a little differently and in a positive way to kind of stretch our limited resources a little bit better. And that's another piece I should probably mention is the advisory committees. So we do have a board of directors for County United Way, but United Way of Mineral County has its own advisory committee made up of individuals from Mineral County. So those folks are my eyes and my ears, and the ones that really help me understand the needs and challenges that we can focus on to address in your county. And so we have a number of folks on there that help us do that. We've got reps from Potomac State. We have Randy's on the committee, First United. We have, gosh, who else? Who am I missing? Northrop Grumman. Lots of folks. I have 4 counties to keep straight, so sometimes I you know,
Mary Kay and
I have those moments. We also
Yeah.
have a couple of individuals who are, retired from the community. Mary Kay Staggers is on there. And Ed Smith is somebody that we miss so dearly. He was such a huge supporter of United Way. I'm not sure that man ever missed a day of caring and sharing in all his years. And so, folks like that were so important to United Way, and it's hard to fill those shoes. We're always looking for folks who have an interest in the human service field of, just helping people. Everyone has their passion. Some people want to help with animals. Some people want to help with children. But if you're looking for an opportunity to serve your community in kind of a broad way, we're always looking for folks to help us out on that advisory committee level. And then what we do from there is we have the chair from our advisory committee then serves to represent Mineral County on the board of directors. So overall, the county has a voice at the table when it comes to our bylaws and our general, doing business. So, as we go through the next couple of months, and we'll be looking at ways to kind of modernize ourselves. United Way Worldwide, which is our umbrella organization, is trying to do that. They've, they offer us so many resources. And so as they go through this process of modernizing the organization as a whole, they're passing a lot of things down to us that we can use to help us improve our work and really get things brought into the 21st century, so to speak. So, we in Maryland have been fortunate to have a study that was done and information on demographics, and it was done through a study called ALICE. And what ALICE did is brought some things to the forefront that maybe hadn't been there before. And even if they were, we didn't have the data to back up what was kind of assumed. ALICE stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. And if you, in layman's terms, this is basically your paycheck to paycheck households. They're working families who are living on a shoestring budget. And what we've done with ALICE in Maryland has been so tremendously helpful in talking to elected officials and those stakeholders in the community to bring to light some of the challenges that exist for those working households. And having the data to back up that has been vital for us. And how that relates to Mineral County is that, there's so many similarities. We might be across a state and county line, but we're all facing the same things. And the challenges that we see in Cumberland are not different from what you see in Kaiser. So we've been able to use the ALICE information that we have in Maryland to kind of have an understanding and assumption of what's going on in Mineral and Hampshire counties. So what that information is providing for us is the proof that a household is working, but maybe just one life event away from creating that domino effect. What might seem like a minor inconvenience for some people, like a flat tire, could mean in the end, someone becoming homeless, because if they don't have the dollars to address that issue, they could lose their job, which means they stop paying utilities, which means then they stop paying rent, which means they then get evicted. And so that's the domino effect that we see happening with a lot of working households in our region. And that's just not okay. So this has given United Way an opportunity to talk to, again, elected officials in the business community with hard data, and show them what United Way can do to help through our programs and services. So it's also really helped us address our agencies to ask them to use the United Way dollars, which are very flexible because we're basically a private foundation. A lot of these agencies rely on government grants to operate their programs, but those grants are very stringent in, the low-income households that they can serve. And what Alice has done is allowed us to request that they serve households above a certain level. So a lot of the issue that we see is grants only allow them to serve folks that are at 150% of the federal poverty line. This is where we get into the weeds a little bit, and I'll try not to bore you, but so the federal poverty line and guidelines have not been updated ever. And so, the limitations with that are so extreme that, a household making $25,000 a year in income may not qualify for human services like food assistance or utility assistance. And that could be because they're just $1 over that guideline. And so what this has done is allowed us to request agencies to consider households at 250% of the poverty line, which opens up more opportunities to help those families. And so, that's been one of the biggest issues that we've been addressing over the past 2 years. And through the United Way in West Virginia, we have a collaborative group. So it's all the United Ways in West Virginia. And myself, along with my counterpart at the Eastern Panhandle United Way, are kind of really pushing the West Virginia Collaborative to get on board with the Alice project. And so, of course, this project comes with a price tag. For us to do the study, I can't remember offhand what the price was that was quoted, but I mean, you're talking $75,000 to get that initial study, and then every 2 years, the information and the data are updated, and that comes with a price tag. In Maryland, we've been fortunate to have a number of corporate sponsors to help with the cost of those, but we in Maryland are facing issues with that as far as corporate sponsors again, and so the United Ways are having to foot that bill. We're a little bit fortunate in our area because of our population and demographics. Our price tag is very low compared to, say, Central Maryland, but we're facing some challenges getting the rest of West Virginia on board with the Alice project. So there may come a time when, I might reach out to Randy and ask for some help from the business community to help me push that among my counterparts throughout the state, because I really think that data would be so incredibly helpful to the community in getting more dollars, more grant dollars, more, programs and services to aid, because there's an entire demographic of households that aren't being considered as struggling. And in Allegheny County, that percentage of our households is 23%. So if you couple that with the poverty rate, you're looking at nearly half your population that's struggling to get by. And so that's not okay. And pushing that data out there is going to be really important to our work. So there may come a time that, I may need to rely on the chamber and the business community to help me, push that support for getting that.
And I would think that, I don't have hard numbers, but I've got to believe Mineral County is probably above that 50% rate. It's everywhere, and and we all see it every day. And as I kind of moved into this role at the chamber, I had a lot more exposure to it than I did just as a private citizen. And that's why I want to brag on you, Julie, just for a minute, because one reason I felt so strongly about having you present this lunch and learn is this needs to get out there, and people need to really kind of pay attention and figure out ways that we can help our neighbors. And Julie is the perfect kind of person to do this because, and you've just heard it as she's been talking, she's not afraid to think outside the box, and she's not afraid to try new ideas, and she's not afraid to work with new people. And she works with me, so she can work with anybody. And she's flexible, and she's just so willing to just try new things. And I think that's really important because, as you say, Julie, things are changing in our world, and we have to figure out new ways that we can help people and reach out. And I like the fact that it's not just money that you raise, but it's gathering people together to help do physical projects. And there's all kinds of ways that people can pitch in. So my hope is that as people see this on the website, that they'll reach out. They can always reach to me first, and I'll gladly pass them along to you.
Absolutely.
And maybe we can get some more people involved, because there's so much need, and we can do this. We can help. So there's no reason that people need to be fearful of, are they going to be sleeping in the same place at night? Or are they going to have enough to feed themselves and their kids? How can I get a job if I don't have what it takes to even get my foot in the door? All those things are so important. And the more people we have working in better jobs, the better we all do. So it's in all of our interests to help with this, besides the humanitarian point.
I appreciate you saying that. I think if we're not being flexible in how we approach issues, then we're doing a disservice to our community, because relying on the way it's always been done is not going to work. And that's another thing I should probably mention. It's that last year we took on a task that we were very uneasy about, because we do have such limited staff, and our resources are we operate on a shoestring budget. We're a nonprofit, and it's so important to me, because so many of our dollars are local. Anybody can approach me on the street at any time and say, hey, what did you do with my donation last year? And I need to be able to say that, we did everything we could to stretch those dollars as far as we could. And, so we took on the task of operating as a 211 call center out of our office. And so 211 is a free hotline that is accessible anywhere. You can call it from anywhere in the United States. And just a simple number to remember. And what that is a resource hotline for human services. So you can call about anything from you need utility help, to housing, or even help finding a job, help to navigate through some of the job search mechanisms. And then, recently they trained us on helping folks with suicide. So, people can call if they're feeling suicidal, and we can walk them through finding the best place for them to get the help that they need. You can text 211, you can call 211, you can email 211. And the really cool thing about it here locally is that if someone in Mineral or Hampshire County calls that number, they get me or Michelle or Misty or Terry. And so we answer those calls, and we are walking them through those. We have a database that we use that has those resources available, and we walk them through that. And that's not a piece that's new to our United Way. We've always kind of met people where they are and taken each case as on an individual person-to-person basis, because everyone's problems are not the same. And, going back to Alice, I think that Alice is helping us shine a light on the fact that people who are struggling don't look like what you would think they look like. We as human, it's human nature to mask ourselves and hide some of the problems that we're having. But I think Alice shines that light on the fact that every single one of us is Alice. Our life event might look different from person to person, but we're all Alice. We're all that one life event away from potentially starting that domino effect. And that's a very scary thing to think about when you are presenting to someone in a larger group and say, your grandmother is Alice, your sister-in-law is Alice, and finally you are Alice. You are, none of us are promised anything from day to day and carrying on as we know it. So that's been helpful. And 211 is giving us even more data to help track some of those problems. So, as we get a call for 211, we keep a spreadsheet and then we enter that call log information, and that helps us pull that data and know that 80% of our calls are about food, or 50% are about finding housing or utility help. So we're having that ability to drill down and really know what those issues are.
Awesome. Well, Julia, I want to thank you so much for doing this today and shining a light on United Way that a lot of people might not know about, and taking the time out of your busy day and schedule to share all this great information. So I urge people to get involved and help in any way they can, and it doesn't have to be a big, huge burden. You can just help periodically as you can, either with dollars or with just helping, just rolling up your sleeves and jumping into a project. And I love the idea of these little cabinets or pantries, or what do you call them that we're going to put out all across the county?
Little pantries. They look like big birdhouses.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're calling them little pantries.
I think that's an awesome idea. So thank you for doing all of this. And a lot of people have no idea where this stuff comes from, but Julie is just working on it nonstop. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you so much. You're so kind. And again, I very much appreciate this opportunity. It's educating folks is a difficult thing to do because we're all just bombarded by information all the time, and you can only hold so much in your brain. But hopefully this helped a little bit in learning about United Way.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and thank you all for joining today, and we look forward to our next one. Actually, next June 10th is our next Lunch and Learn, and we should be hearing a presentation on 529 college plans, which will be kind of interesting, especially those of us who have kids or grandkids that we hope to send to college one day. So we'll learn all kinds of stuff from the folks at Edward Jones. So look forward to that. And again, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Everybody take care and stay safe.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.